A meeting of the North Andover School Committee, February 4th, 2016, and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would like to just remind people that the meeting is being recorded, and if we could make sure our cell phones are silenced. The first order of, or the first notice before we start anything is that we are actually including Mr. Gross as part of remote participation, which was granted by the Board of Selectmen in June of 2013. In accordance with the Commonwealth Law 940, 22.10.5.e. It is because we have a geographical distance with Mr. Gross and he is unable to attend. And in further...
I have to be able to hear them.
I'm sorry, and in further review with 940, all votes will be by roll call this evening. Because Mr. Gross is actually chairman, policy is BDB, that I will assume the position of chair for this meeting. And Mr. Gross is displayed on our video camera screen that is there as well. Mrs. Warren is unable to attend tonight's meeting, so we do in fact have a quorum for today's meeting. Did I forget anything? I think I covered everything. Okay. All right, so we will begin with public comment. Okay, seeing none from the public, we will go on. We will start with our student report with Matt Wolfenden and Courtney Tronk.
Yeah, good seeing you all again. Yeah, things are really well right now at the school. Big thing that's been going on for a while is the Drama Guild has been preparing to put on their performance of Into the Woods, and their first showing of that tonight will be tonight at 7, which is right now, just went underway. And they will also be showing it tomorrow at 7 and Saturday at 7 as well at the North Andover High School. Tickets will be $10 for students, $15 for adults. I would also like to honor and congratulate the 4 members of the boys indoor track team who qualified for the national tournament, which is a tremendous honor for them. That is Kyle Salois, Eric Duffy, Matt Mantega, and Steven Stabile, and they're doing the 4x200 relay. I also like to congratulate football player Joey Sammelman, who just signed his national letter of intent to go to Trinity College to play football, and he'd also been elected to play for the Shriners All-Star Game, which is a very prestigious honor as well for North Andover. Excellent. And the students are going to be, who are a part of the DECA, which is the business club kind of, but it's a big program here at the high school. They're preparing for state convention, which is in the beginning of March, and they're going to be spending a few days in Boston preparing and hopefully qualifying for nationals. And we've had a few students also qualify for nationals as well, which is tremendous to see.
Well, it's good to see you guys all again. And what's recently been happening in the school is that National Honor Society put up their applications, and a lot of people are like trying to apply and all that stuff. And then also our PSAT scores came back today. Along with 2 new clubs, Mindfulness and Meditation Club, which meets up every Monday after school in the library, and also Club Phoenix, which meets up every Thursdays. It's like another Students Against Destructive Decisions. It's really good. And like,
I believe Relay for Life just hit $10,000, which is halfway towards their goal. So just a reminder for everyone to support that.
Yeah. And also the summer programs applications are up online at nayouth.com. So for all the elementary kids and kindergartners who want to get involved with their friends this summer and stay connected, go to nayouth.com, and under the registration and summer program forms, you can find several activities that you can do to have a nice, fun summer.
Excellent.
Great.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
All right. There is no consent agenda tonight, so we will go into the chair's report. And I don't know if Brian has anything to add to that, but I would be remiss if I didn't say on behalf of the students of North Andover, they are gearing up for what could be their first and only snow day this year. So I just want to plant that seed, even though I think that it's not that big of a storm, but I would be remiss. At least if they had no spelling test tomorrow, then that would be great for elementary. So.
Yes, and I'm looking forward to my first sleepless night, so.
Right. All right. Mr. Gross, do you have anything?
He's there, I think.
He's there. He's behind me.
We see him. It's just,
Oh.
are we,
I think he's frozen.
we could be frozen. All right. Superintendent's report?
Yeah, so let me just do three things, but the third thing was that the play Into the Woods is starting tonight, so Matt already did a great job talking about that. Just want to talk quickly about the model classroom update. All of the model classroom projectors have been installed. We're working on the Chromecast and the document cameras, but it's very exciting that we have all the projectors in, the short throw projectors in, and people are really excited about it. And Mike Grant hit the deadline of February 1st, which was pretty impressive since we didn't decide to do this until like January 5th. So way to go, Mike Grant. And then the only other thing is this week we had a program piloted over at the Franklin Elementary School called Understanding Our Differences, which is a program that focuses on really having students understand the challenges of students who have different disabilities. So we had a program on the autism spectrum, and it was wonderfully received by the students. It was all fifth graders over at Franklin, and it was incredibly successful. A speaker at the end that Gilly and I got to see, a young man who has Asperger's, and talking about the challenges and the social challenges of Asperger's. And it was a really, really wonderful. I think my favorite line from him was, if you've met a person with Asperger's, you've met one person with Asperger's. So really having kids understand that being on the spectrum, it manifests itself in in many different ways. So a great program. We're going to do one more pilot over at Franklin, and then the idea is this is a program that actually is for third, fourth, and fifth graders, and we're going to explore kind of rolling it out in the district. Anything to add to that, Mr. Gillian?
I would just say that I was really proud of our fifth graders at the Franklin with the questions that they asked. Were excellent, and they're really the display of empathy, trying to put themselves in those shoes. The questions they were getting at were really mature beyond their years, so really good stuff, and really nice job.
Yeah, Mr. Clark said today that one of the teaching assistants who works with students on the spectrum just said, the kids on the spectrum were understanding what this guy, and it was one to relate, but it was really wonderful to have classmates understand what some of their classmates are struggling with. So it was just a great day. So I just wanted to highlight that.
Excellent. All right. So we will move on to old business, 7A, which is continued discussion and vote of the fiscal year 17 budget. I don't know if we need to bring it up. I don't think we're planning on bringing it up, correct?
We can't see each of them. He can hear you now.
He can hear us now? Okay, all right. So we will, I would entertain a motion.
Can I be heard?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Hello.
You can be heard.
We got you, Brian.
All right, so now we have sound all the way through. So that the committee approved the fiscal year recommended budget of $45,226,141. Is there a motion for discussion?
So moved. Second.
All right. We'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Teresi? Oh, we don't have to do a roll.
You're out of practice, Mr.
I know, I'm sorry.
Can we discuss?
No. I thought we had to open for, thought we had to move for discussion, sorry. So any discussion?
No.
Mr. Teresi?
We discussed for the last month. I think. Discussed out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Gross?
No discussion, thank you.
No discussion. All right, so now I would entertain a motion. Entertain a motion for approval of the...
That was the motion. We made that motion.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Now we just
need to vote, sorry.
Yes.
I am out of practice. So we will roll call. Mr. Teresi?
Aye.
Mr. Gross? Mr. Gross?
Second.
Aye.
All right, Mr. Lippert, and myself, I will vote yes. So the motion has passed, 4 to nothing. 4 to nothing. Well, I was thinking if we had to note that Mrs. Warren was not here. I know how to count.
Yeah,
Right.
that's okay.
So congratulations,
Yay!
Dr. Price, on
First budget.
your first budget. First of many, we are hoping.
I'd just like to thank Jim Mealy, especially for his incredible work on this budget.
Second.
All those in favor? Yeah, no, sorry.
All right. So we'll now go on to 7B, revolving accounts budget. And this was discussed at the last meeting, so there's no change in fees for any of the budgeted amounts. So there is a recommended action to move as presented the fiscal year 17 revolving accounts.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in, no, sorry. Roll call. Any discussion?
No discussion.
Mr. Gross? Any discussion? Mr. Tracy?
I'd just say for the people at home who just think we're just blowing through this, and we've talked about this by our 4th different meeting, so maybe next year when we take these we can probably condense the budget schedule or something, because obviously I think we had a lot of great conversation, and I know Mr. Mealy got back to us with a lot of information over the last few weeks, so that's why we can vote on these very quickly tonight.
All right, so no additional comments, so we'll move to roll call for the school department fiscal year revolving accounts. We'll start with you, Mr. Teresi.
Aye.
Mr. Lippert?
Aye.
Mr. Gross?
Aye.
And I will vote yes, so again, 4 to nothing. Approval of the fiscal year 17 revolving accounts. And we will now move on to, the 8A, which is the mid-cycle review of the school committee goals. And I would now entertain a motion for, to open for discussion. Oh yeah, because we're not voting on anything. So this is really, even though we approved this in December, it was about 2+ months ago, almost to the day, whether or not, because it is mid-cycle, we ended up taking a little bit of time and actually developing it and getting to the point where we finally voted on it. But if we needed to make any modifications or changes to anything in what our focus for this year is.
So I'm happy to just quickly talk about the district priorities. If you remember, we talked about performance-based processes for targeted initiatives. Just want to remind you that the elementary literacy model, we really tried to do that with when the folks came in, and I linked the presentation for anyone at home on that. We really did try to take this targeted approach in the budget process, which I think you guys, and then in terms of the facility needs, the enrollment projections and the class size guidelines are both linked to the document. And we are working very closely with the town manager around the whole idea of the additional classrooms in the CIP project. And it's something we've been talking about him on a consistent basis. Our goal is to get an RFQ out this spring so that we're really ready to go with the consultants we need to think about what we need to do to our buildings to ensure that we can actually address our class size issues. So that's just the district priorities. The school committee goals are for you guys, but I just thought I'd update there.
A quick question. Do we need to reactivate the building committee for this objective?
One more time, Brian.
We need to fire up.
I don't think at this point, and if you remember, it's really about consultation in the first, so he was asking about whether or not we need to get the building committee going, and the idea here is really in the first part of this is consultation to understand what makes the most sense. There's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts, and so it's not now, but it will happen. But we need to kind of understand a number of things, and that's why we really need someone to come and help us think about what makes the most sense in terms of building.
Mr. McDevitt, the only thing I wanted to add is on this one, we have basically, in my mind, others can tell me differently, completed the goal number 1 we reviewed the performance report and made a decision to meet this requirement in a different fashion, which I think we all agreed last time was acceptable. So I would say this goal is now complete from our point of view. So,
Okay.
And if I can pick up the I know Ms. Ward is not here this evening, but she has a policy with Mr. Clifford's support. We have identified party policies. Time plan on providing the and I think the next step is to work with gain agreement on the high price. Get into the required.
See if we can turn this volume down.
I'm gonna have that accomplished by January. We're a bit behind on that.
Excuse me, Mr. Gross,
Yes.
we're wondering if you could turn the volume down a little bit on the
on
your computer so that we could hear it a little clearer.
Control.
Okay. So just to rephrase, I think what you said, Mr. Gross, is that you, Ms. Warren, have been working on the policies, and Mr. Limpert has been working with you to define which are the most important for us to look at, and that's an ongoing thing that you and Ms. Warren are working on. Is that fair to rephrase what you said? Yeah.
That's
In
impressive.
summary, we're behind plan. but we hope to
I didn't get
catch
that.
up.
I was going to say that may be the most impressive thing that you
More than the
Better than the
snow.
46.
Doesn't stop the snow.
All right.
Okay.
Any other conversation on
I'm
the
good, I'm good.
school committee goals?
No, I think we're good.
The only thing I'd like to add, Mr. McDevitt, I know we're joined by Mr. Stewart from the Board of Selectmen, and, you know, since Dr. Price came on board, I don't know if this information gets back to you on a timely basis, but the collaboration between her and the town manager has been phenomenal, and I know she deeply appreciates it. I just want to make sure the Board of Selectmen is hearing it's hearing it loud and clear that we're very happy with the relationship between the two. And
I don't know how he does it.
I know, look who he's working with, too. But please pass that along to the rest of the board, please.
All right. So I would now move on to number 9 for public comment.
Just stand aside.
All right.
Yes, on the
So
other side.
I will open this up to school committee comments.
Good.
Mr. Gross? I would like,
Thank you. I hope I could be heard. Maybe opportunity to participate.
It worked.
Charlie Brown's teacher appreciates the role model. For the purpose of the minutes, I would like Mrs. Zagari to actually record that this could be the fastest school committee meeting on record. But in all seriousness, I think the budget process, as Mr. Teresi, pointed out, it's been a long time in growth and development, and I think we spent, I think we had a little bit of preliminary kind of taste of what was coming in December, but I think every week except for one in the month of January, we've reviewed, we've presented. You've presented out for the first time that I know of to the actual teachers. Did high level at the Board of Selectmen meeting with FinCom as well. So I think that the process, that we have followed in the past, has been very true and transparent in terms of, presenting it out to the community and giving them an opportunity to provide feedback to us. And so, again, just even though this was a quick move in terms of approval, the conversations have not necessarily been rushed by any stretch. So
I wanted to add 2 comments. First is, we have been training Mr. Mealy for 8 years, right? So, it's been a long process, but we've finally gotten there. I think we've, it's been worked out really well. We certainly couldn't have done it without Jim all this way. So he's been a key element in all of this, all the way along. The other thing I would like to do is compliment you on the budget as you put it together, because this was the first budget in which I really feel like we got sufficient explanation up front. We didn't have to go through a long process to sort of finesse it out of you all. You just presented it to us and you explained very clearly what you were trying to do and how you were trying to do it, and I think that made it easy too, and made the process go a lot faster. So I thank you for having done that, and of course thank Mr. Mealy for all his great work in putting the numbers together any way we'd like to see them. So thank you.
I think with that being said, I would.
Must be the healthy diet.
Yeah. Wendy's.
I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
So second, Mr. Teresi. Do a roll call vote. Mr.
Aye.
Teresi?
Aye.
Mr. Gross?
Aye.
Yeah.
Mr. Limpert?
Yeah.
And I will say yes as well. So we are adjourned at 7:23.
That's pretty good.